What if the most quietly intelligent person in the room isn't the loud one, the confident one, or the one flaunting degrees, but the one who stares out the window, zones out mid-conversation, and says, "I just have a feeling about this"? People love to say INFJs are deep or mysterious, but let's be honest, most people have no idea what that really means in practice. They don't see the way an INFJ tracks patterns in the background while acting calm on the surface. They don't see the mental chess that's always running. And they definitely don't see that a lot of the weird things INFJs do are actually signs of rare cognitive processing, the kind of intelligence that doesn't always show up on paper, but shows up in survival, strategy, and human insight. Today we're going to walk through 10 strange INFJ habits that most people misunderstand. By the end of this video, you're going to see why these habits are not just quirks, they're quiet evidence of a mind that is operating on an uncommon level. Let's start with habit number 1, the future simulation mode. An INFJ can be sitting in total silence looking like they've checked out, when in reality they're running projections. They're not just thinking about what's happening right now, they're mentally jumping weeks, months, even years ahead, and testing different outcomes like a strategist planning a campaign. They'll do this with relationships, jobs, money, arguments, decisions. Before they say yes to something, they've already tested the version where it goes well, the version where it collapses, and the version where it looks fine for a while and then gets toxic in year 2. This is why INFJs hesitate or seem cautious. It's not fear. It's risk calculation. It's pattern forecasting. It's, "I've already seen how this movie ends for 5 different timelines and I'm not walking into the bad one." Most people react in the moment. INFJs pre-react to the future. That's not anxiety. That's strategic intuition, and it's extremely intelligent. Habit number 2. They replay conversations later like a forensic analyst. After talking to someone, an INFJ will go home and mentally rewind the entire conversation. Not just what was said, but tone, timing, energy shifts, eye contact, word choice. They notice when you laughed too hard at something that wasn't funny. They notice that half-second pause before you answered a question. They notice you said, "I'm fine," but your jaw tightened on the word, "fine," and they archive it. They don't always confront you about it. That's the creepy part. They just file it under, "This person is hiding something," or "This person is hurt," or "This person is getting ready to leave." People call it overthinking. It's not. It's data compression. It's, "I just mapped your emotional truth in under 10 minutes without you telling me anything directly." This is why INFJs can predict breakups, betrayals, and personal meltdowns before they happen. They are listening for the part you didn't say out loud. Habit number 3. Controlled detachment. This one looks cold, so people misread it. When an INFJ senses that something is about to become unhealthy, or manipulative, or emotionally expensive, they begin to detach before the explosion. You'll notice it if you're close to them. They start replying slower. They stop oversharing. They're still polite, still warm, but there's a softness at a distance. This is not giving up. This is a preemptive boundary. INFJs understand something most people don't. If you wait until a situation is already on fire before you protect yourself, you're already burned. So they step back early, before the scorch. That ability to emotionally step outside of a situation and evaluate it like an outsider, while they're still in it, is incredibly rare. It's emotional intelligence plus self-preservation plus timing. Most people only detach after damage. INFJs detach to prevent damage. Habit number 4. Energy budgeting. INFJs treat their mental energy like limited currency. They know that if they spend it in the wrong place, with the wrong person, in the wrong environment, in the wrong conversation, they'll pay for it later with exhaustion, burnout, or emotional numbness. So they do something that gets them labeled antisocial, quiet, or hard to reach. They ration themselves. They will disappear instead of forcing small talk. They will leave early instead of pretending they're fine. They will say no to drama, even when everyone else is running toward it for entertainment. On the outside, it can look like moodiness. But it's not impulsive. It's calculated sustainability. It's, I cannot fix the world if I allow it to drain me first. That's not laziness. That's resource management. And honestly, that's smarter than pretending you're an endless battery just so people don't call you distant. Habit number 5. Storing information about people like a private archive. INFJs memorize odd things about you. Not just your birthday, but the thing you said in passing at 2:17 a.m. about why you don't like hospitals. The way you go quiet when someone interrupts you. The look on your face when someone talks down to you. They remember your triggers, your soft spots, your secret joys. They are constantly scanning for who you really are when you're not performing. And they keep that information safe. They don't use it to manipulate. They use it to protect you, to comfort you, to warn you, to help you. This is why INFJs are often the only person someone fully trusts. Because being seen by them feels almost supernatural. It creates a bond that most people don't experience anywhere else. But here's the intelligent part. They also notice when someone else is studying them back. And if they feel like you're collecting data on them for power, not for care, they shut the door immediately. Access denied. Habit number 6. Saying, I knew it, way too often. Let's talk about INFJ pattern recognition. INFJs often sense the true nature of a person or situation almost instantly, but they don't always act on it at first. They'll get a gut read like, this person smiles too hard, something's off, or, this opportunity looks good but it's actually chaos, or, this friendship is temporary. Then they watch. They wait for proof. And when the truth finally shows up, days later, months later, sometimes years later, they go, yeah, I knew it. People think that's arrogance. It's not. It's just that INFJs were already reading the pattern before the pattern became obvious. It's like seeing the first 10 seconds of a movie and already knowing the ending because you've seen this exact plot, with different faces, 100 times. Is it supernatural intuition? You could call it that. But practically, it's high-speed pattern analysis. Again, uncommon intelligence. Habit number 7. Selective honesty. INFJs are surprisingly blunt, but only when it actually matters. They're not going to waste honesty on small talk. If you ask, do you like my haircut? They'll probably just say, yeah, looks good, and move on with their life. But if you ask, do you think this person is good for me? Or, am I sabotaging myself? Or, why does nobody stay with me? Now you've entered sacred ground. This is where INFJs will tell you what no one else has the nerve to say. Not because they enjoy it, but because they respect you enough to not lie to you about the thing that could ruin you later. The habit here is almost surgical. They save their honesty for the moments where comfort would be cruelty. That's not just kindness. That's wisdom. That's understanding that truth has weight, and if you drop it at the wrong time, you break someone. But if you place it in the right moment, you save them. Habit number 8. Disappearing to repair their internal signal. INFJs have this pattern where they suddenly vanish. They stop texting, they stop posting, they're off the grid, and everyone starts asking, "Are you mad at me?" Most of the time, the answer is no, they're not mad at you. They're recalibrating. Here's why this is intelligent. INFJs know that absorbing other people's emotions 24/7 can actually warp their own sense of self. If they're always tuned in to other people's fear, anger, insecurity, neediness, they start to carry emotions that aren't even theirs. So sometimes they isolate, not because they hate people, but because they need to hear their own emotional frequency again. They're cleaning the channel. They're saying, "What do I actually feel, without everyone else's noise sitting in my chest?" That is high emotional hygiene. Most people don't even realize how influenced they are by the moods around them. INFJs do, and they actively reset. Habit number 9, quiet defiance. This one is subtle, and honestly, it's one of the most misunderstood forms of INFJ intelligence. INFJs will often go along on the surface while secretly refusing to internalize what you're trying to force on them. You can pressure them. You can guilt them. You can tell them, "You owe me." You can say, "Everyone else is doing it." They'll nod. They'll say, "Yeah, totally, I get it." They might even smile to keep the peace. But internally they're already out. They've already decided, "No, I'm not doing that, I'm not taking that on, and I don't accept your version of reality." And then, without a fight, without a dramatic speech, they just don't comply. They quietly exit that expectation and continue living by their internal code. Call it stubborn. Call it passive resistance. But it's actually a very intelligent survival tactic. It lets them avoid unnecessary war while still staying fiercely aligned with their values. People underestimate this kind of resistance because it doesn't look aggressive. But long term, it's powerful. It's how INFJs avoid being owned. Habit number 10. Treating emotions like evidence. Most people treat emotions as reactions. I'm angry, so I yell. I'm sad, so I cry. For many INFJs, emotion is not the final product, it's the clue. If they suddenly feel irritated around someone they normally like, they don't just snap. They ask, "Why? What changed? What did I pick up on subconsciously that hasn't surfaced yet?" If they feel drained after talking to someone, they don't just say, "Wow, that person is dramatic." They'll go deeper. Did they cross a boundary without saying it out loud? Did they shift responsibility onto me? Did they make me their therapist without permission? In other words, they analyze their own feelings like data. That's not typical. That's metacognition, thinking about your own thinking, monitoring your own emotional feedback and using it as an early warning system. This is one big reason INFJs can avoid long-term damage in situations that trap other people for years. They pay attention to the first red flag inside their own body. Now, let's zoom out and talk about why these habits get misjudged. INFJs don't perform intelligence in a way that's easy for other people to label. They're not always trying to be the smartest voice in the room. In fact, a lot of INFJs actually hide how much they've already figured out, because announcing it usually makes people defensive. So instead, they watch. They listen. They collect. They choose their moment. And that creates this weird contradiction. Publicly, people might think the INFJ is just nice, quiet, helpful, sweet, maybe a little intense sometimes. Privately, that same INFJ is running a level of analysis that would honestly scare people if they saw it in real time. This gap, the gap between what's actually happening in their head and what people assume is happening, is where a lot of misunderstandings live. People think the INFJ changed overnight. No, the INFJ just finally acted on a decision they quietly made 6 months ago. Another important piece of this: INFJs are able to merge logic and compassion in a way that looks contradictory but is actually extremely advanced. Most people lean hard into one or the other. Some people make choices from pure logic, and they come off cold. Others make choices from pure emotion, and they get used. INFJs sit in between. They'll say, "I love you, I truly care about you, I want you to heal, and I will not let you destroy me in the process." That balance is not basic. That is the kind of high-level boundary that some adults never learn even in their 40s, 50s, 60s. This is also why INFJs can come across as suddenly ruthless. It's not that they don't care. It's that they care with structure. They will absolutely carry you when you're weak. They will absolutely defend you if you're being attacked. But if they realize you're not actually trying to grow, you're just using them as emotional life support while you keep choosing chaos, they will pull the plug. Not to punish you, but to protect themselves. That's not cruelty. That's sustainable compassion. Let's also be honest about something else that never gets said. A lot of INFJ weirdness is actually self-defense in a world that constantly misreads them. When you can read people fast, people accuse you of being paranoid. When you can sense danger early, people call you dramatic. When you withdraw to mentally recover, people say you're too sensitive. When you refuse to be controlled, people call you difficult. From the outside, it can look like overreacting. But from the inside, it's just survival with better resolution. The INFJ nervous system notices shifts that most people don't feel until those shifts become full-blown crisis. That hypersensitivity is not always comfortable. In fact, it can be exhausting, but it's also part of what makes their intelligence so rare. They're not just smart in the academic sense. They're smart in the "I'll still be okay 5 years from now because I saw this coming" sense. Here's the part you really need to hear: these habits do not come from ego. Most INFJs are not walking around thinking, "Yes, I am superior." If anything, they spend a ridiculous amount of time worrying that they're too much, too intense, too complicated, too sensitive, too distant, too protective, too suspicious, too tired. They're constantly trying to soften themselves so other people feel safe. And that right there is one of the saddest parts about being an INFJ with uncommon intelligence. You can literally see what's happening, you can feel the direction everything is going. You can already tell who's sincere and who's pretending, and you're still made to feel guilty for reacting to what you already know is true. That's why so many INFJs secretly operate in silence. They protect their peace privately, because defending it publicly usually turns into an argument they never wanted. So let's recap in real terms. The INFJ who looks distracted. Their future mapping. The INFJ who overanalyzes conversations. They're reading emotional code. The INFJ who pulls back suddenly. They saw the damage coming before you did. The INFJ who hoards energy. They're budgeting, not withdrawing. The INFJ who remembers everything. They're building emotional safety. The INFJ who says, "I knew it." They clocked the pattern before it was visible. The INFJ who goes brutally honest at exactly the right moment. That's surgical compassion. The INFJ who disappears. They're recalibrating their internal signal. The INFJ who smiles and quietly doesn't obey. That's protective defiance. And the INFJ who studies their emotions like clues. That's metacognitive self-awareness. Here's what all of this means. INFJs are not powerful because they're rare. Being rare doesn't automatically make you valuable. They're powerful because of how they process reality. They don't just live in the moment, they live in the timeline. They don't just hear what you say, they hear what it reveals. They don't just feel emotions, they interpret them. They don't just love, they guard. Their intelligence is layered, strategic, emotionally literate, and quietly firm. It's the kind of intelligence that doesn't yell. It doesn't demand credit. It just moves with certainty. And if you're an INFJ watching this right now, here's something you probably need to be reminded of. You are not too much. You are not overly sensitive. You are not paranoid. You're calibrated. You're tuned. You're reading on a frequency most people don't even know exists. Stop apologizing for protecting your peace. If you found yourself in this, even a little, you already know why people don't always understand you, and honestly, why they sometimes fear you. And that's okay. Let them underestimate you. That's half your advantage. Before you go, tell me in the comments which habit is the most you. Is it the vanishing act? The silent predictions? The emotional evidence scan? I'm curious. And if you want more deep dives into the INFJ mind, make sure you watch the next video after this one, because we're going even deeper into how INFJs deal with manipulation, gaslighting, and people who try to psychologically control them. You do not want to miss that.